is Remy Pangel with the Center for Wind Energy at James Madison University. We will be talking to you today about the Virginia Wind for Schools pre-host school research project, the School Electricity Assessment. Today we'll be talking about task number 2, the conservation plan. An outline for our conversation today: we will be reviewing some conservation basics, reviewing a proposed methodology and some potential tools to use to perform your methodology. We will give you a sample rubric for grading this task of the research assessment project. We will review a potential timeline and give you some ideas for some expert contacts to talk to if you're having any trouble working through this particular task. So to start off, it's important for us to understand the traditional sources of electricity so we can better understand why we would want to conserve electricity. The figure you see in the middle is a pie chart indicating where our electricity is generated here in Virginia. I believe this is from 2014. As you see, the coal, natural gas, and nuclear energy provide a majority of our electricity in Virginia, with hydro and renewable energy taking up only a little over 5% of the electricity generation in Virginia. This is typical of most states around the country and of the U.S. as a whole. The important thing to understand, of course, is the difference between renewable and non-renewable energy sources. And as you see, the coal, natural gas, and nuclear are all non-renewable energy sources, and we only have, like I said, around 5% renewable energy sources here in Virginia. And as we think about how those different sources of energy actually generate electricity and all of the opportunities for impact on our environment, we look towards renewables as not only an opportunity to have power for longer period, forever, but also that most of these renewable energies have less impact on our environment. So we really do conserve so that we can lessen the impact on our environment. The less energy, electricity that we use that's generated by fossil fuels, the less impact we'll have. But the cleanest kilowatt hour, the cleanest energy that we can produce is the no kilowatt hour, or the energy that we don't have to produce, meaning that we are not needing that electricity because we're using less. So if you think about our population growing every year and the amount of electronics that we use more and more every year, you understand that electricity needs are increasing, and we need to keep up with that either through power generation, or we need to keep that electricity consumption down through conservation and efficiency efforts. So here's a couple of examples of how we can conserve energy. Energy Star appliances are appliances that use less energy to do the same job. That's what we call efficiency, high efficiency appliances. Things like computers, TVs, dishwashers, refrigerators, light bulbs. All of those things come in Energy Star products, which tell you that they're using the least amount of energy to do the same job. So being aware when you're purchasing. The other thing that we can do is we can make sure to seal up all the holes around our windows and doors so that we keep the cold air in or the cold air out, depending on the season. And down in the lower left-hand corner, you see someone laying insulation in their attic. And this is just another way, again, of making sure that we're keeping the warm air or the cold air in and not letting it out during those seasons that we would like to keep it in our homes. This compact fluorescent light bulb in the middle is just an indication of, again, the idea that we can do the same job with using less energy. So the compact fluorescent really has replaced the incandescent bulb and provides the same amount of light using less watts. And now we have LED lights that can be even more efficient. Some other ideas are, of course, turning off the lights when you leave the room. This is an energy conservation behavior, the idea of changing behaviors to make sure that you're using less. So you can use the same amount of the same appliance, but use it less. So unplugging your refrigerator when you go on vacation, or unplugging your cell phone chargers when you're not charging your cell phone. Those are all ways that we can use less as well. So in this particular task, we're asking students to develop, market, and execute an energy conservation plan. The idea that in task 1, we had students become more aware of how much energy they use, how much electricity they use. So they did an electricity assessment or audit. Now that we understand how much we use, this is your opportunity to use less. So the proposed methodology in terms of development is to research different ways we can conserve electricity, especially in your space. In your space, maybe all you have is light bulbs. So the biggest thing you can do is either turn them off more often or change them to LEDs. If you're in a location where you're looking at an entire wing, maybe you can update your computers to be more energy efficient, or there's lots of things that you can do. So we want you to research those ways that you can conserve or be more efficient. And then identify ways that you can actually employ these to save energy in your space. Which ones are actually going to be feasible for you. And then, of course, you'll want to continue to collect data on your electricity usage so that you can understand how much you use before and after your conservation plan is executed. Then, of course, we need to market or make people aware that we're trying to conserve electricity, assuming that it's more than just your class that uses this space. You would like to develop a marketing campaign to get people on board with your plan. If it's writing a newsletter to send out to all the administrative faculty to remind them of certain things that they can do in the administrative suite, or just making posters that say, don't forget to turn off the lights, and hanging them everywhere in that particular wing of your school. And of course, reminding to keep continuing to collect data on the electricity usage during that time. We keep repeating that. And then the idea is that we will execute this to try to do as much conservation as you possibly can. And then after a period of time, a week or a month, or a couple of months, depending on your time frame, you want to then compare your beginning electricity assessment to the final electricity assessment of how far down you could get that kilowatt hours number. And then, of course, because you're collecting that same data as in task 1, you can create the same graphs and charts of electricity usage by appliance and over time, so that you can compare and contrast to the results from task 1 to now that you've saved electricity. How does that look now? And then just do an assessment of the impact of the conservation efforts and reflect on how you could have done this better. There's many different ways that sometimes our plans don't execute as well as we'd like them to. But the real goal is to calculate that final number of kilowatt hours that you want to be able to generate with renewables now that you've gotten that number down as low as you can through conservation efforts. So in this task, similar tools as last time. In task 1, a kilowatt meter is something that will help you keep track of your electricity usage before, during, and after your conservation implementation. Again, you can just use a notebook and pen or pencil to keep as good a log as you possibly can in that space. And then I threw in the idea of art supplies. Again, depending on what kind of marketing plan you're doing, I envision lots of posters all around schools, encouraging kids to save energy and use less. But maybe it's a newsletter, maybe it's an assembly, I don't know. But whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you're marketing this plan. In terms of internet resources, I thought I would give you a couple of links to some places where you can do your research on how to save electricity. So there's a couple of sites. One is from Duke Energy, which is an electric company that that is just helping people to save energy at home. And then there's the Department of Energy, who also has a lot of tips on saving electricity. In terms of helpful activities, I will point you mainly to the Kilowatt Hours Educator Guide. And so Kilowatt Hours is a great documentary, and it has a free educator's guide if you go to their website, and they have a bunch of great activities for getting students more aware of how much energy they use, like in task 1, but also giving them some ideas on how to actually really save electricity, and so it gives you some great ideas on some of those things that you can be doing to save electricity. So again, if you are grading this portion of the task, this task of the research project, or if you plan to submit your project to JMU for us to grade, this is an example rubric. Again, the topics that we're really looking for you to address is researching your ways to conserve, identifying the ways that you're employing those different ways in your space, the development of your marketing plan, the electricity log before, during, and after your plan has been executed, with a summary of findings, again, the graphs and charts that are showing usage by time of day and by appliance. And then, of course, a conclusion, so understanding what used the most, when they used the most, how things changed, so comparing and contrasting to task 1, and of course the big total kilowatt hours used after your conservation plan. And then, of course, a session on recommendations of how you could do it better if you were to do this again. Total of 28 points. Again, this task is something that we have identified as a 5-week task, starting in the second week of November and going into about the second week in December, so the second task of the fall semester. Again, take this with a grain of salt, take as much time as you need, use the whole semester, use 2 weeks, whatever works for your class and your group of students. This is just a guideline. And so to finish up here, I just wanted to remind you all that if you need help with any of these tasks, I'm available here at the Center for Wind Energy at JMU. Becky Lamb is with the National Energy Education Development Project, and her email is here, and she's open to helping students as well. But again, I will encourage you to contact an energy auditing company, or because they will have lots of conservation ideas, because I think a lot of the companies, if you reach out to them and tell them this is a student project, would probably be open to helping and working with your students. So I wish you luck, and I hope that you'll contact me if you have any problems. Thank you so much.